Okay, the next number is a very important row, and this number you're going to see here in a minute how it works into the overall worksheet. We're going to start at the top where it says cash on hand beginning of the month. Here you see that $2,459.17. That was the balance that came over from your previous, in this case we started January 1st, so this was the December 31st balance from the prior year. So you go into the year with $2,459.17. That adds to your cash position for this new year. So as we scroll down, you'll see that same number shows up here in the total for the total cash available. It's just continuing on down. And this comes down to the row called cash on hand end of the month. So this $2,459.17, you're going into the year with that much money. So that's a great thing. The more money you have there, the better it is for the upcoming year. Now, when you look at this number, we're going to go to this first column here, and we're going to go all the way to the top. That number comes over to show you what the beginning cash you have at the beginning of January. And since that was an actual number of what you actually had in cash, and this is an important thing to remember, that's actual cash goes in both the projected and under the actual number, because you're projecting a number you already know which is actual, and you're actually taking an actual number. And so as that comes down this column, as we run it down, you'll see at the end of January, we're showing that you actually have cash of $3,254.93. Now that number goes, we're going to go to the next column, that number goes all the way to the top. And because, again, it's an actual number, you find it here and here. So you can see that actual number of the cash remaining from the previous month goes to the top of the next month under projected and actual. And there's only one time that doesn't actually become the case. And we're going to go down here and show you when that happens. And it'll make total sense when we explain it to you. We come across and we go into the month of September, where in September, you notice that we have the projected numbers in, but we have no numbers in the actual category. You see where this says actual, there's no numbers entered. So we go to the bottom of the month before, and this shows a number that was an actual number of $3,293, and that would end up, we go to the top of September, being the $3,293. But if we look at October, that's going to be, there's no numbers in actual to use from September. So let's go down in September. All we can use, since this is 0 because it hasn't actually been figured yet, they have to pick up the projected number of the $5,503.52 because all we have for September is a projected cash on hand and no actual. So we should see that same $5,503 that was a projected at the top of October. So from this point on, it will use anytime there's not a actual from the month before it picks up the projected number. Now we're going to go to the next row, which is the monthly cash, the increase or decrease, and that is simply the difference between what you projected and what you actually had in cash. So in this case, it turned out to be you were $121.27 less than you'd projected in what you actually received. And so that simply takes into consideration the totals from, I'm going to go back over here, so we're back to January so you can see this, that you're going to take into consideration what you actually, what you projected, what you actually received, and what the difference is, and that does that each month. In this month, $195.69 was projected, but you actually received $37. You're $132.90 less in cash than comparisons of the projected to the actual. And that goes across the entire spreadsheet. The next column is the year-to-date cumulative increase and decrease in cash. And that simply takes into consideration this cell, since it's the first month and you did $49.19 better. That's your cumulative year-to-date. This number here for the next month represents this total and takes into consideration the negative 132.90 and gives you a new cumulative number. And so it keeps going from here to here, down, this one over to the next one, and down. So it's simply a year-to-date running total of how you're doing on the increase or decrease in cash for the ongoing year. This column right here only has one cell associated with it. This is your projected yearly profit and loss above the line. So remember that this number does not take into consideration the below-the-line entries in either expenses or in the income that would be taken into consideration. This is an important point. I need to cover this. The reason for that is you're going to want to know, if you were a small business, if you sold the business, what a normal person could expect from the normal income that he would receive and the normal expenses, not taking into consideration the income where you had to borrow. It's not really income, but monies you receive from borrowed funds or loans, and it would not normally, a new owner would not have to look at past debts or loans that you had to repay. So that number only represents the above the line numbers. So the other numbers below the line tell you what will happen to your cash because of those expenses, but this would be your normal budget, what you would have left based on the above the line numbers. Okay, we're going to talk about the monthly profit and loss above the line. So these are above the line profits and loss for the month. You were projecting using the above the line income and the above the line expenses that you were going to be have a profit of $871. You actually did better in this case. You have $921. These numbers come from the subtotals of the above the line income and above the line expenses that comes down and gives you what you're doing month by month. If you're ahead or what you actually are having left at the end of each particular month, whether it's a negative or a positive. Now we're going to go down and we're going to cover the next row, that is the last row. This shows an updated projected yearly profit and loss. And so this number, where you had originally projected that you were going to be $1,065.43, you're going to have actually here $1,113.62. And so you did better than you anticipated because the difference between the projected and the actual that was received, so the difference between these two is added to this number to come up to the new number. Again, in the next one, when you get this number, you take the difference between what you projected and your actual, whatever that difference is added to this number, comes up to the new updated projected yearly profit and loss. And this follows across so you can see all the way across. And we'll go out a little bit here when you get into, this will end in September, if you notice, under the actual, because we have no comparison of the difference between the actual and the projected. So the last number that you will see always in this category of updated projected yearly profit and loss will always be the last number that has actual numbers, that month that has actual numbers plugged in for it. So as you can see here, we're looking at the number of, in August, the actuals show that now we're looking at having a profit of $1,247.80 for the year, where we originally had projected only $1,064.43. So that will give you a basic understanding of how those numbers work. They're simplistic but very important because you need to know, as we've talked about earlier, when are you going to run out of cash, if you're going to run out of cash, because even though by the end of the year you might make a profit or be okay, there's going to be some months that maybe you're in trouble, you're not able to pay taxes or be late on a payment, have late fees, ruin your credit. So you can see how you're doing. When you start this out, there's going to be some of these rows and columns, some of the rows especially, that you say, well, I'm really not using that piece of information. But as you get more sophisticated in using it, you're going to see the need for it. I use a lot the cash on hand, which is this row right here, to show me what my cash position is at the end of each month and where I'm expecting it to be. And also I use what my normal budget above the line is going to look like at the end of the year and how I'm doing accordingly each month on gaining or losing on that. But thank you very much. It's been a pleasure in presenting the information to you. I think you're going to love the product.